We are now live.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual board meeting. As we continue to hold virtual meetings, there are a few housekeeping items. Just to remind everyone, we're streaming the public portion of this meeting live on our YouTube channel. If you happen to experience any technical difficulties with the live stream, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube afterwards. To those who are in attendance, your microphone has been muted, and I ask that you kindly raise your hand if you'd like to speak. We'll retain a list of speakers as we go. Once you're called upon to speak, you may unmute yourself, and when you've completed, kindly mute yourself once again. As it relates to voting, please raise a hand to indicate your vote when a vote is called, and should you be disconnected, please rejoin using the previously provided link. We will begin with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the lands which constitute the present-day region of Peel as part of the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the First Credit Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Wyandot nations. We recognize these peoples and their ancestors as peoples who inhabited these lands since time immemorial. The region of Peel is home to many global indigenous peoples. Thank you. We'll now begin today with first agenda item is with our Section 10 Calvin OPP meeting. Welcome, Inspector Guerin. It's good to see you. Kindly, you may begin the OPP Calvin presentation. I think just quickly a roll call. I think everyone is here. Trying to look across my screen. Yeah, okay, I think everyone's present. And are there any declarations of conflict?
Sorry, Chair, everyone is present except Member Len Howell.
Oh, correct. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chada. We're aware he won't be attending today. Any declarations of conflict? Seeing none, then we will, Inspector Guerin, you can begin.
Thank you, Mr. Attia. I would like to present the third quarter 2021 police services report from the Caledon, Ontario Provincial Police Detachment.
Actually, Inspector, I apologize, Inspector. Sorry, I'm off today, it seems. Okay, before your presentation, would you allow me to just get an approval on our previous minutes? I missed that.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. The approval, the first item is the approval of the minutes from Friday, September 24th, 2021. Can I have a mover? Mr. Bowden, seconded by Mr. Chada, all in favor? And that's been carried. And so now we will go to your third quarter report. Again, my apologies, Inspector.
Thank you very much. Okay, page one deals with public complaints. During this third quarter period, the Caledon Detachment has received 5 conduct complaints. Moving on to motor vehicle collisions and types. During this third quarter, we had 2 fatal motor vehicle collisions and a number of personal injury and property damage collisions. Just of note, year to date, we're about half the number of fatal collisions than we were last year in 2020. And as well as our property damage collisions are slightly down as well. Moving on to criminal code and provincial statute charges that are laid. Third quarter, you'll see our charges overall are slightly down in the third quarter. However, year to date, in comparison to 2020, we're actually up slightly by 1.9% in our total charges. Our violent crime statistics in this quarter, you can see that our numbers are slightly higher, mainly in the area of crimes against other persons. A lot of that is attributed to threats against persons. Our overall year to date from 2020, we're actually increased in violent crime by 2.4%. Property crimes, a notable spike or area of pressure is in our theft over category. We're at 64, whereas this time last year we're at 47. This is primarily due to an increase in stolen motor vehicles in the town of Caledon. Our theft unders are actually down 24.6% and for the same time period of 2020. And our overall property crimes in comparison for year to date from 2021 to 2020 were actually have increased by 2.9%. Moving on to drug crimes, very similar in this quarter to comparison to 2020, with a minor decrease in possession of drug charges. Overall, drug crimes are down 18.8% from year-to-date 2021 to 2020 in that comparison. And then moving on to the final report of clearance rates. Our clearance rates in total for this quarter is 34.4%, which is an increase slightly from this time period last year. Overall, year-to-date, our clearance rates are actually down by 4.3%. That is the third quarter report for the Caledon OPP detachment. If there's any questions, I'm available to answer those.
Thank you. Do any of the board members have questions for Inspector Garrett? Mr. Bowden.
Thank you, Commander Grant. Perhaps it would be for the good of the board, maybe take a minute just to talk about your most recent truck safety blitz that you did and what you're seeing and what you're trying to do in order to make the roads a little safer in Caledon. And then maybe I can weigh in after that on some of the things that I'm doing, but maybe for the good of the board, let them know what you've been doing and what those results have shown.
Absolutely, Mr. Boughton. So the Caledon OPP detachment has experienced a decrease in our commercial motor vehicle and trained inspectors at this detachment due to retirements and transfers and promotions. So in order to fill this gap, we've reached out to our policing partners and our enforcement partners with Peel Regional Police, with MTO, Ministry of Environment, as well as other OPP detachments in the Highway Safety Division, such as Mississauga and HSD time teams. So what we're focusing on now is to continue and increase the amount of commercial motor vehicle inspections throughout the region of Peel. So they may not all take place in Caledon. Our most recent one was in Brampton, where we sent officers down to partake in this Joint Forces Enforcement Initiative. And basically, we're randomly pulling trucks and conducting safety inspections on the trucks, checking for mechanical safety problems, as well as documentation and inspection reports from the operators. The troubling thing is we're not targeting the worst of the trucks. We're just randomly pulling trucks from the roadways and conducting these inspections. And an overwhelming trend that we're experiencing is 44% of the trucks we're pulling over we're taking out of service for a major safety infraction of the truck. So just to inform the board, Mr. Boughton is a strong advocate on truck safety, and I'm keeping him apprised as to our outcomes and our findings at these trucks. And I like to thank my policing partners as well for helping us and joining in and also in removing these unsafe trucks from the roadways.
Through you, Chair, thank you, Commander Grant. I have had further meetings on this with Minister Mulroney, as I said that I would last week and the week before that. And for you, Councillor Medeiros, as has been indicated by Commander Grant, this isn't a problem that's just in Caledon. These trucks are maybe starting in Caledon, but running through Brampton and then running to Mississauga as well. So Councillor Medeiros, I know you will be very interested in what is being done by the OPP. People are getting killed on the roads. These trucks are so unsafe. And as Commander Grant had said, this is not targeted. They're not targeting. These are random stops where you're taking half the trucks that you stop off the road because they're so unsafe. So this is a bigger problem than the OPP in Caledon or in Brampton or Mississauga. This is province wide, Councillor Medeiros. Just so you know, this information that Commander Grant has shared with the head of the OPP is consistent throughout the province. So it's not just in our area. This is very consistent bad behavior throughout Ontario. I've had a number of meetings with the Ontario Trucking Association. We have to do more to get these bad operators are having people are dying on our roads because of these unsafe vehicles. So I'm becoming from the transportation sector. I take this very seriously. I really appreciate the work that's being done by OPP, but those in Brampton and Mississauga need to understand this is a very, very serious problem.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other comments or questions from the board? Very good. Can I have a mover to receive this report? Moved by Mr. Brown and seconded by Mr. Chada. All in favor? Okay, and it's been carried. This concludes the Section 10 Caledon OPP agenda. Thank you, Inspector Grant, for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll now begin the Peel Police Services Board meeting of November 26, 2021. Again, just a quick roll call, just for the minutes. Mr. Howell is not with us today. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay, seeing none, we will continue with the meeting. The next item on the agenda is the Chief's update. Chief, please proceed with your update.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to all. And I have just one brief verbal update, and that is a significant one for our region. As you know, the Ministry of Education and the Solicitor General under the Education Act require every municipality to have a joint plan that involves all school boards as well as police agencies to have a protocol on how to ensure the safety and well-being of students in schools. And this is called, generally speaking, every municipality, a school board protocol. It is a very complex document which speaks to every intersection point of how we support teachers, educators, parents, students in a safe and healthy environment for a variety of different issues. And and Inspector Grant, who was just on the call, and I, as well as all of our school board partners in the region of Peel, we're very pleased to be able to sign the school board protocol this week, which is a significant milestone because on a regular basis, it needs to be renewed. As you know, the risks and needs in our community and in the schools continually change. And we've adapted, as we all know, in the last 2 years to see program and service delivery to our schools in a new way. At any rate, this is a significant milestone. I know I have spoken with the directors of our Catholic and public and the French boards. Everybody is seeing this as an opportunity to set the bar for how we partner with our school agencies to ensure that they have a safe environment. And I just wanted to let everyone know that this is a significant collaborative activity. Absent that and anything from my deputies, Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
You just give a move.
Chair, I think you may be frozen. Hello, Chair.
I'm back.
We got you.
Yeah, back. I'm back. Okay. I was just asking, could you just give us some perspective, Chief, as to what this, by signing this document, what it means to us in the immediate short term? Will there be any changes?
Yes, absolutely. Mark, I think is a great opportunity if you're good with briefing the chair.
Thank you, Chief. Through the chair. What it means is that we now have a framework for moving forward in our relationship with all three school boards. We're looking to build the relationship at every level. What we've found is that because there's been significant turnover, particularly the public school board, there is a lack of familiarity with the structure that we need to respond to calls, how we respond to calls, when we respond at schools, when we can respond with non-uniform response to away from the schools. The document provides a framework for us to move forward, and it also provides a platform for us to do training, joint training with all our school boards and school families at the divisional level, so that we can, whether it's emergent response or a non-emergent response that is done outside of the uniform setting. What we had a local school board protocol that was signed in 2017, and it was outdated. It didn't serve our community the way that it needed to. As a result of some changes that were made, some issues that were identified, we put in place a interim plan, and that plan, helped us through the last 19 months of the pandemic constrained environment. But what we needed was a plan that was had input from the new executive team of the public board and the existing teams of both the French and Catholic boards, as well as input from this executive team and this leadership team, which, as you know, has got a different perspective from the old team. So essentially, the protocol provides us a platform for how we move forward in our response to schools, provides us a platform for training with our school families, both at the frontline level, but also at the leadership level with the superintendents that are responsible for the individual families of schools.
Thank you. And just for clarity, we've paused our SRO program, and it's under reevaluation with community partners and internally. Does this have any is there any connection between this and that?
Chair, just for complete clarity, the SRO program was not paused; it's ended, and this is not the two are not connected. They're related, but they're not connected. And there's the narrative out there if this is any way connected is incorrect. This is about how we respond to issues in schools, whether it's an emergency response where we have to respond with a uniform presence, and I don't want to muddy the waters too much here, and I know the chief wants me to stop talking, but the fact is that we're no longer responding to behavioral problems at schools. Those are not a police response. So we won't end up in a situation where we place an officer or officers in a position where they're responding to behavioral problems, which is not appropriate. Those have an appropriate response that can be done by the school community or other resources in our community.
Thank you.
And the chair, I think what that looks like right away is we've scheduled joint training workshops and sessions with both boards. They're actively putting them in the calendar. Superintendent DePat's teams leading that, and that just strengthens the confidence between educational staff and even our officers to know what are the nuances of supporting schools and making sure they're safe. So thank you for that, Mark.
Are there any other board members who have questions or announcements? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue. The first item of our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on Friday, October 22nd, 2021. Can I have a mover to approve the minutes? Councillor Madera, seconded by Mr. Bowden. All in favor? Has been carried. Thank you. We have no deputations today, and so we'll move on to presentations. We have a presentation today called the Peel Regional Police: A Cultural Evolution. Chief, would you like to introduce the presenters?
Yes, I am going to intro the person doing the intro, but before I do that, I just want to say, since we've got here, there's been some significant transformational initiatives, and this is one of them, but it's only got off the ground because there are remarkable people attached to it. So, Deputy Andrews done an amazing job with his team, and, Inspector Pendlebury and Dave Nunnan, who you're going to hear speak, are remarkable individuals. And Dave, just, to isolate Dave a little bit, he's one of our employees, a senior project manager who's leading some of our most critical initiatives. Deb has been a part of that too. So, just a little bit of the pump the tires thing for the three of them. They do an amazing job, and they're the reason why we're able to move the yardstick. So, Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Chief. Through the chair, myself, Inspector Pendlebury, and Mr. Nannon will try to level set for the board and to sort of articulate for the board why our cultural evolution is such an important piece of the work that's going forward. Important not just to the organization, but to the community. If Deb, can you please share your screen? Thank you. Next slide, please. Organizational culture is the collection of values, expectations, and practices that guide and inform the actions of all our members. It's a self-sustaining patterns of behaving, feeling, thinking, and believing that determine how we do things around here. Our culture defines the proper way to behave within our organization. This culture consists of shared beliefs and values established by our leaders and then communicated and reinforced through various methods, ultimately shaping employee perceptions, mindset, behavior, and understanding. Our organizational culture sees the context for everything that we do and is reflected not just internally, but externally. Developing our organizational culture is an investment in our members, so we become healthier and stronger, so we get better positioned to serve the community. And I think that's the key message that I want to get across here, that we are evolving our culture because it better positions us to serve our community. In September of 2020, PwC was engaged by the Peel Regional Police to conduct a cultural assessment of the organization. The goal was to identify and assess the alignment of our organization's dominant culture with its strategic priorities. PwC's final report summarizes the data and insights gathered through leadership interviews, employee group interviews, and a cultural survey that was conducted service-wide. This report identified PRP's cultural thumbprint, let's call it, which is a consolidated view of our cultural traits. This includes our strengths, what we're doing well, and that can be harnessed and leveraged to influence positive change, and which support organizational goals, and those that have the potential to act as barriers to PRP success. As part of the cultural assessment, PwC identified with the senior leadership team behaviors that will have a positive impact on PRP's culture and increase the alignment between the organization's ways of working and strategic priorities. Why is this important? Well, after 32 years and being part of numerous strategic planning processes and articulation of strategic goals, and you've heard this before, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And that's not me saying this. This is Peter Drucker saying this. The most practical way to change culture is by changing behaviors. And behavior is how we do things, how we treat others, what we say, and how we say it. Changing behaviors takes time, focus, and commitment. And rallying our members around a few identified behaviors, we can increase our likelihood of success. Next slide, please. So, yeah, before you go ahead, before Inspector Pendlebury speaks to this particular slide, I want to, the chief often says, and it's become something of a mantra within our organization, you can't be good on the outside if you're not good on the inside. And we're taking steps to become good on the inside so we can be good on the outside. And one of the examples of the things that we're doing is that, we want to articulate for our officers the value that we see in each and every one of them, each and every member of our organization. Every officer remembers the day they put on the Peel Police uniform for the first time. There's nothing like that feeling of pride in your organization, your co-workers, but most importantly, your community has placed their trust in you. As our careers progress, officers often have the opportunity to work in different areas of the organization, and it's sort of a natural progression, the arc of or trajectory of an individual's career path. However, for members who choose to stay in frontline uniform or return to frontline uniform after years away, we wanted to demonstrate and reaffirm how important the frontline role is to our community and how valued these members continue to be. To that end, we have recently introduced a frontline insignia to be worn on a member's uniform that recognizes the years of service specific to the front line, which includes our communications team, not our corporate communications, but our call takers and dispatchers. A member has to dedicate at least 5 years or more to frontline policing before being eligible for the insignia. This insignia has had overwhelmingly positive response within the organization. The pride and appreciation our members feel when receiving it can't be overestimated. This is one of the ways we're working to ensure a healthy, positive, committed workforce, a workforce where members feel respected, valued, and included, which in turn is realized by in our community through exemplary service delivery. And I will now pass it over to Inspector Pendlebury.
Thanks, Deputy. And can everybody hear me okay? Perfect. And I apologize. I know that the slides were a little choppy there. There's a bit of a delay. So I love technology, especially when it doesn't work for me, but we'll go with it. So thank you, Deputy. And we've all heard the Chief previously reference that Peel Regional Police is committed to 3 areas of focus: our people, our work, and our community. And the culture work that we're doing aligns with all 3 areas, but especially with our Chief's commitment to the health and wellness of our members. Our organizational strategy can set our direction and focus. It can formalize the manner in which our members understand our organizational goals, but it really is our culture that will help us accomplish our goals by aligning it to our organization's shared visions and beliefs. Here at Peel Regional Police, we're making very conscious and intentional steps to collaborate with, to involve, and to listen to our community in regards to their wants and needs, so that internally we can evolve our perspectives and actions to meet the changing needs of what our community and what our society wants as a whole from their police service. But this involves having to make transformational changes to our mindset and our behaviors that will ultimately develop into our organizational culture. And this focus and commitment to our internal culture will, as we've heard, make us good on the inside and allow that to permeate for us to do good on the outside. And in this manner, we'll be able to better serve our community to meet their needs and expectations. So why should we care about our culture? Well, I'll start by saying a good culture doesn't happen by chance or by accident. The deputy mentioned that culture is about self-sustaining patterns, and that is because culture has inertia. And without a really strong and persistent and intentional effort or force, it's not going to change. So our culture needs to be deliberately managed to align with and support our organizational vision. And for those of you who are wondering, why is this important to yourselves or our community? Our organization's culture impacts how we serve the community, and I would respectfully offer that an organization that has a healthy culture will always outperform those that do not. You know, to name a few examples of what a healthy organizational culture can do, it respects and honors the dignity of all our members. It builds trust and respect for one another and our community. It supports positive communication and engagement of our membership and our community partners. It encourages decision-making that aligns with the well-being of our members and our community. And it increases collaboration and teamwork to facilitate the design, development, and delivery of services to our community. So our culture really does matter. And it has such a direct effect on people factors such as member engagement, motivation, and commitment that in turn is reflected in our service delivery to our community. And I'm just going to turn it over now to Dave to just take you through a few steps on our journey to date.
Thank you, Inspector. Let me begin by stating that the culture evolution is a journey. It's a journey of transformation that may or may not include some tangible actions. We need to reflect on our way of being, the way that we do work. This is a huge task, and we're taking small steps that will eventually lead to some huge leaps. We've identified some tangible actions that we can implement almost immediately, and we're taking steps to incorporate those into our organizational culture. Our culture evolution is designed to achieve a healthy workplace by being inclusive, innovative, and progressive, and one that provides the context for us to protect the rights and well-being of all through service excellence and community engagement. So what are some of the steps on the journey that we've already taken? We've created engagement opportunities for members to directly interact with the chief and senior leadership through our Coffee with the Chief sessions. And this is to develop transparent communications. We're working on a peer-to-peer in-the-moment recognition for increased motivation to members and a way to celebrate our wins, or simply just a mechanism to say thanks. We're working with the Ontario Human Rights Commission and the community to develop systems that will address perceptions of biases while serving our community. We've introduced technology such as body-worn cameras to provide accountability and transparency. And we have our internal support networks, such as our Unity Network, that unites women within our organization with a mandate to contribute to the positive career experiences of all women through providing opportunities in leadership, mentorship, career development, knowledge building, and awareness. And we're developing diversity, equity, and inclusion programs with consultation with our community partners to focus on equity and inclusion from within, such that we can transfer that mindset into how we provide services to our community. For example, all our directives are being reviewed through an equity and inclusion lens to ensure that the language is embedded in the way that we conduct ourselves. I think we'll pass it back to the deputy to wrap it up.
The actions we're taking are focused on the mindset and behaviors of the individual, which in turn will lead to organizational cultural shift. At the same time, we need to ensure that the systems are in place to support the future state or future organizational state. Our cultural work is a continuous investment in our people to successfully position them to serve our community. This culture shift will allow us to exemplify a safer community together. Subject to questions from the board, Chief.
Chief, did you have any remarks before we go to the board?
No, thank you. I'll leave it open for the board. I think just the only comment is we want to see the look and feel of this place, be different. and we want to distinguish ourselves not just from the look and feel of how it may have been before, but how other police organizations, see themselves in this space. So, we are on this journey for a lengthy period of time. We're running this like an enterprise project. It's an interesting one. It's woven into everything we do. So, I'll open it up to you, Chair, and the board.
Any questions from the board? Okay, I don't see any hands. Mayor?
I don't know, with such significant work, I think we should comment, actually. So just first, let me congratulate you on all the work that's been done to date. And also, cultural changes is never easy, and it's a long process. So we thank you. And what are the next steps, in fact, now that we have made significant inroads?
I'll take that. Thank you, Mayor. It's a long-term process. What we've identified is essentially short-term sort of quick wins, which we can implement right away. Because as the chief says, we're trying to shift the feel of the organization, and by we've identified six very quick wins, which I think Dave touched on there. But midterm, from those 6 wins, from those 6 low-hanging fruit, we then have midterm and long-term goals, which are being articulated by our staff. Our coffee with the chief sessions we've had, we've had 2. We have a 3rd one coming up, I think, next week or the week after. And from those, we've been able to identify issues that the workforce need us to address, and to build that. And by actually addressing them and then communicating back what we have done to address those issues, we're creating credibility and transparency and faith in the process. But there are much longer term goals that will require significant work around the healthy workplace, around our organizational wellness, that are all pieces of culture that we've committed to, and will help inform the process as we move forward.
So I have a couple questions. My first is, you in the beginning referenced a review by PwC. Can you give us some perspective on what the results of that was?
Deputy, did you want me to answer that?
Go ahead, Inspector.
So the PwC was a fulsome review and analysis of our culture thumbprint, if you will. It was really intended to give us a visual in terms of where our culture thumbprint is currently, or before we started this culture work. Because to make change or to move forward, we needed to know the starting point, or where we were beginning from. And I think it's also important to note that the culture work we're doing it's as much about leveraging what we're doing well as looking at our opportunity areas that we can improve and make changes within. What an organization doesn't want to do is completely turn culture on its head, because culture change can just begin with a few small behavioral shifts. And it's important to celebrate the cultural wins that you have currently in the organization, and then look for improvements and opportunities, as I've said, in other areas. And the PwC review was very fulsome. It engaged leadership, it engaged employee focus groups, it involved an employee survey, and those focus groups, and collectively, that gave us our culture thumbprint from which to use as a launching pad for all the culture work that we've spoken to today.
All right, but what were the key findings? I apologize. If you've already captured in the presentation, I missed it. I apologize.
No, So out of the totality, they came up with some critical few behaviors, and culture is about changing some behaviors. And they identified 3 critical few behaviors that they recommended our organization start working towards. And they were treating everybody with care and equal respect, to ensure that we at all levels actively listen, understand, acknowledge perspectives, to make sure our members feel heard and valued, to have the courage to recognize when we don't have all the answers and to be inclusive when we search for those answers, and to provide in the moment recognition when you see somebody doing a good job. And that's in all directions, up the chain and down the chain of command. And those were the sort of the 3 core critical few behaviors that the totality of the work recognized. And those critical few behaviors were formed from all the analysis and research and employee input in terms of what they would like to see as our culture within our organization.
Thank you. My last question, have there been any other mechanisms for feedback from the membership on this? I know, there's the coffee sessions with the chief, but often those kind of sessions don't allow people to really give their feedback, versus more anonymous ways. Or so, has there been any other ways to kind of inform this process by the membership?
Dave, I'll let you respond to that.
Certainly. We're developing a number of different ways to do this, including even within the Coffee with the Chief sessions. We're keeping them really small so that there can be an intimate relationship building. But at the same time, we're putting together little things, sometimes old school methods for gathering the feedback, such as survey cards. We're also going out and doing sessions, just one-on-one sessions with various groups through parades, as well as some of the other meetings to promote the culture work that we're doing. And we're getting positive feedback, and as well as we're also working on mechanisms to gather ideas and feedback through some that are already existing, such as the Chief's suggestion box. And we're starting to implement an idea and innovation hub that will funnel ideas through that as well. But it is going to be a consolidated effort to gather all that feedback. And we're providing the responses back to our membership through our internal communication networks, things like This Week in Peel or some of our community boards.
In addition, thank you for that, Dave. But in addition, Cherry, you're also aware of the steps that we're taking to have 360 feedback from our internal stakeholders and our external stakeholders as a leadership team. This is in the initial stages, but we're actively seeking out feedback from our internal stakeholders, but in an unprecedented manner for executive leadership, both internal and external. We're looking at multiple ways to receive feedback on the work that we're doing and the impact that the work that we're doing is having. Thank you.
Well, Inspector and Dave, I want to thank you for all the work you've done on this. This is a very important piece. As everyone knows, we're really pushing forward a change agenda in so many different pieces in policing, in Peel Police. And we can't leave people behind, and certainly the culture and the membership needs to come with us. And so what you're doing here is very, very critical in the change management process. So keep up the great work you're doing, and we look forward to hearing more updates on this. I don't see any further comments from the board. And so can I have someone move to receive this presentation? Mayor Crombie, seconded by Mr. Bowden. Thank you. All in favor? It's been carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to new business. In accordance to the board's procedures policy, we'll now move to the consent motion for the consent agenda. The consent agenda deals with items considered routine. Do any members wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Seeing none. Okay, can I have a motion to approve items number 4 to number 6? Okay, moved by Mr. Chada, seconded by Mayor Crombie. All in favor? Okay. I think it's been carried. I have to find everybody on the screen. Okay. So that's been taken care of. We'll now move to other new business. Item number 7 is the 2022 draft user fees. Chief, would you like to speak to this report?
Acting Deputy Shearer, I'll turn it over to you if there's comments needed.
Thank you very much, Chief and Chair, through you. This report is a user fee, essentially for user fees for goods and services that Peel Regional Police provide to external community members and stakeholders. So there are some adjustments just based on stuff that's happening internally. And once complete, this will be posted on the Peel Regional Police website. Subject to any questions that you may have. Sorry, Chair, I think you're muted there.
Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, can I have someone move to receive this report? Mr. Bowden, seconded by Mayor Crombie. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, I believe it's been carried. Okay, we'll now move to our favorite final item of our agenda, body-worn cameras. Deputy Chief Eduardi, please proceed with your update.
Good morning, everyone, and through the chair, thank you, and appreciate you calling it the favorite last item. We have significant progress to date. In fact, today and the month of November marks close to 1 year where we have started the initiative formally with a vendor. And by the end of this month, in fact, in a couple of days, we will have deployed all body-worn cameras to our frontline members. So this is a significant month in the milestone. We have kept on track, on schedule, and on budget in all 3 of those areas. So it's a good news story. I'd like to just share my screen with you. I'm hoping you can see our body-worn camera campaign snapshot. Could I just get confirmation of that? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. This is a snapshot that we want to share with the board and the public about the engagement piece. We acknowledge at the beginning of the initiative, there were concerns about the type of engagement, how extensive the engagement could be, and how it would reflect in the implementation. And I can say today that besides the personal and virtual engagement sessions that we have had with the public, we also have embarked on a significant social media campaign. I'd like to thank Director Payette for having his team put this together since he's been here to visually demonstrate how effective the engagement sessions have been. So you could see here that our communication with our community has been far-reaching. We have had over 417,000 video impressions. We have had a significant place on social media, much of which has been positive and neutral, over about 80%. And we have seen that throughout the course of the initiative and engagement piece. What we have been doing is where we get constructive feedback or feedback in terms of questions, we have driven that to responses and to the website, and that has impacted policy. And we have some demonstration of that here where it says questions from social media, which includes policy for recording mental health, our officers trained on turning on and off the cameras, and what happens if the officers forget to turn on the cameras. These are all information pieces we've used to drive our policy, but also drive information from the website. So I wanted to share that with you as we culminate the frontline deployment piece of body-worn camera and move into the second phase, which will be looking how we deploy body-worn camera to non-uniform members of the service, which we will be starting immediately. So more updates to come on that. Last but not least, I wanted to point out the new look to our body-worn camera update. It's a one-pager. project status update. This is reflective of what we hope will be consistent updates in terms of a one-pager for the board at the board meetings, not only on body-worn camera, but other major innovation and technology initiatives that we will be beginning at our next meeting. So I wanted to just point that out to the board, to the community, so that there's some expectation as to the significant projects. Pending any other questions, that's the update.
Any questions from the board? Just Deputy Chief, one quick question. I know it's been on this before, the in-car camera system pilot, but we never really talked about it in this meeting. Can you just give a quick explanation?
Yes, thank you. The in-car camera system is a fixed camera system in a vehicle that is being implemented for traffic safety. These are moving, non-moving violations generally. This is a pilot project to understand the need for it here. As you know, we have significant challenges with traffic safety within the Peel region, and we are looking to other areas using technology to assist us, not just in enforcement, but in education pieces. And the in-car camera system, we know from other jurisdictions, could help us with that. The in-car camera system at this point is a free pilot that has been sponsored by our body-worn camera vendor and is in a trial period. We are at the stage where we have only begun to install the technology, and our next phase is the engagement piece and also understanding what the pilot will look like. And there'll be a further update on that at our next meeting.
And is there any update on complaints from the public? Anything that we should be aware of?
Through the chair, specifically for body-worn camera, no, we do have inquiries, as was indicated in the last slide, where we would engage specifically with our community or through the website. But in regards to in-car camera system, none.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, can I have someone move to receive this report? Mr. Chada, seconded by anyone? Mr. Bowden, thank you. All in favor? Okay, that's been carried. So thank you, everyone. This concludes the public portion of the Peel Police Services Board. Let's adjourn for 5 minutes, and so we'll come back. Let's begin just 5 minutes after 11. That's okay. And for our in-camera Zoom conference. Thank you, everyone.